People just don't like straightforward decks. People just, they like what they perceive as big brain decks, where like games last X amount of time and decision making in the late game and all that. People don't like playing units on curve is easy and dumb. I don't think it is. I think there's different axes as far as like decision making in card games. So like all the aggro decks, the first couple turns in the game, all the options and decisions fall to the aggro player. That's where they have to make the most decisions from turn 1. But as the game goes longer, it starts to swing the other way, where the aggro player has less decisions and the control player or combo or sometimes mid-range, it just depends, they start to have more decisions. And see, people think during the late game, that's when all the important decisions are made, no matter what deck you're playing, and that aggro is easy. But aggro's forgiving. It is forgiving. If you make a mistake playing an aggro deck, the aggro deck will forgive you. Control doesn't do that. Control, like, if you make a mistake, you lose the game. More often than not, you lose the game. But it's all about people's perceptions. As far as, like, you know, that's another perception, a long time perception I have a problem with. That aggro's easy, and like, I'm like, no, you can play aggro, but most people that say aggro's easy, they can play aggro, but they don't know how to play aggro well. They're not good at playing aggro. They're just okay at it. And because aggro's forgiving, they still end up climbing with it. Unlike control, where like you make one mistake and you lose the game. And it's very obvious what mistake you made. Where aggro, it's like not obvious. Usually not obvious at all. You'll lose with aggro and then not know why. You'll never know that you actually misplayed when you lose with an aggro deck. Oftentimes, people never realize where they actually misplayed. Where they could have squeezed out extra damage on a certain turn, but they chose to just plop something on the table. When it's like, no, that's the wrong thing to play. And thinking multiple turns ahead, you have to do that with aggro just like you have to do with control. So control is just like think multiple turns ahead and plan it in a way to get to that game state. Whereas aggro is like think multiple turns ahead to how much damage you can and should be doing. Which is also based on what your opponent might do. So it's high level stuff.